this field is the Roman town of Canetio. Obviously it's not there anymore, but it marks the start of this week's video. But first, along another ancient track. Like I said, another ancient track. Heading towards, that's right, an ancient wood. Now, there's going to be a lot of huffing and puffing till I'm at the top. But hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me. Now, I've just walked through someone's driveway because the footpath sign wasn't actually that clearly marked. But when you're out on a long walk, you don't really want to bring extra tools with you, aside from everything you need for the day. Just in case you need to hack a bit of vegetation. What's going on in here? Wow, hell badgers. I have spent much of the day coming across these creatures. Lovely. Obviously I haven't seen any, just the evidence that they're there. With various holes, not massive sets, just little. I'm hoping that the rain will hold off for a couple of hours, but it's got that bit where where the sun shines and doesn't shine. Showing you the old trees in here. Not too many wildflowers. There's violets and celandine. No bluebells, no anemones. A badger track. There. Going there. That'll be its home. Or temporary home. Oh yes, there are. Wow. Now, it could be stitch work too, so we'll find out. Stay tuned. Oh, there's bluebells on this side. There should be. Because, no, I'm not joking when I say it's ancient. There's always proof. Wow. Let's see, can I get over this? This is the biggest load of anemones that I've seen all year. So, I shall turn you round. Yeah, look at all those. Wow. Behind there, all along there. Incredible. If I can pick my way, well, I can't, but even so, that's still beautiful, isn't it? There's the valley behind us, river valley even. and the town of Merlin's Barrow. I suggest you watch on a big screen if you want to see the tiny flowers. For we are in the land of tiny spring flowers. Now I've come from the woods right over there. Wow, we look at all these. Wow. This might actually be the most anemones I've ever seen in one area in my life. How's that? Now, it looks like people have been walking through there, but I don't know where they've been going after there. So I'm going to... You ready? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. I do things like that. And it's always worse when I'm just about to get to the van. I always have to walk through a whole load of mud. It's okay at the start of your walk because you can clean off during the walk. Wow, they're amazing, blowing in the rather strong breeze. As does the camera. Ooh. So I need to stop to feed my face somewhere, because if I go too far I'll start getting the gurgles, the collywobbles as it is known. So I'm going to stop here and refresh. Anemones on the other side, and what we have here is stitchwork flowers. Well, stitchwork plants, but no flower yet on these ones. But there is on this one. It's not going to focus in this wind, is it? There's another one out there too. Don't know if you can see that one. And that one. Delicate, as I said, delicate. Wow, the wind has picked up. Wow. Well, amongst this beauty, I want to talk to you about something that happened many years ago, June the 1st, 1985 to be exact, and was called by the media on the side of the establishment, called the Battle of the Beanfield, when in fact, which hints, or is it hint, which kind of implies it wasn't one-sided, when in fact it was one-sided. It wasn't a battle, it was a massacre of unarmed people. Now the 80s were a very horrible time for some people, including myself. We suffered abuse of a phenomenal order all the time, at least I did. Wow, what a beautiful place to shoot this. So it's appropriate that I'm shooting it here because this is coming towards the land owned by someone who was, well, let's say, instrumental, pivotal, important in the whole thing, and that is the Earl of Cardigan, known as David Brudenell Bruce. Now, I'll take you back to that. It was a difficult time. There was high unemployment, and similar to now, there was homelessness, and people like me saw no future. Indeed, saw no future, at least until the world changed. So lots of people, including urban people, took to living in buses and trucks and just going from festival to festival. Well, one night or one day, a load of them turned up here at Savernake Forest, and the Earl of Cardigan, whose land it is, went out to see what was going on. Now at the time he was 32, 33, so he was sort of a young man really at that time. And I think the fact that he went there and chatted to people give you an indication of the type of person he is. So on June the 1st he decided that what he'd do is to get on his motorbike with another mate of his on his motorbike and travel with what was known as the convoy to Stinehenge. And what could be a nicer day out than that? So off they went, and the convoy was met with a roadblock. Well, it was a number of convoys converging, and they were met with roadblocks, and then systematic smashing, destruction, vandalism, call it what you like, of old buses and trucks. Some of them actually weren't old. Some of them were maybe 10 years old. I know, because I've seen the pictures of the wrecks. Wrecks now, but they probably weren't then. Because all they had to do was tell the media that they were wrecks. And everyone, oh yeah, they were wrecks, without knowing the truth. Well, unless they've been in a bad accident, most vehicles of 10 years old are not wrecks. However badly treated, they're just not. It's a rare occasion that happens. So, at one point, and I know I've spoken about this before, but at one point the police just went down the line and started smashing windscreens because they had been ordered to decommission the travellers and the convoy. And there's only one way to do that, and that's to make sure that 100% of the vehicles were fucked. Vehicles, caravans, you name it, whatever anyone was living in was trashed. So, what would you do if that was happening to you? Well, you'd find a way to escape. So they got armed with cutters and saws and cut through a fence in order to escape the road and go on what is now known as the Beanfield. So that changed the course of events. But, you know, you can see some of the footage because news crews for the television and media weren't allowed in there, and there was only 2 or 3 allowed or that managed to get in there. If you want to see some of the footage, you can find it. If you just could do a search for Battle of the Beanfield, it will come up. But beware, some of it is horrific. Now, what the police and the authorities and Thatcher didn't bank on was that the Earl of Cardigan was going to be there to witness it, which he was. And I don't think that when he set out he was expecting it to turn as horrific and life-changing as it was, or as it became. Okay, please don't drop on me. So he was a crucial witness and credible witness, because he wasn't out there taking drugs or drinking. He had to ride his motorbike home. Now, what then happened was, in the aftermath, he said to all the travellers, come back to mine. But not in the terms of after the pub, come back to mine, we'll have a party. More of a, come back to mine and I'll make sure the police aren't allowed on my property and I'll keep you safe. The police did threaten, or they did tell him that they would, or offered to basically come in and finish them off. And they may be actual words that were said. Wow, look! Because basically the police just wanted to go in and trash everything and everyone. So in the aftermath and various court cases, some of which didn't happen for 25 years, too long for anything for anyone to be done for anything. But the immediate arrests, well, they were dealt with, and mostly of the 300 people arrested that day, the majority of which were let off largely because of the testimony of the Earl of Cardigan, who I shall quote, if you don't mind. Now, bearing in mind that what we're talking about is someone who is a conservative, as in British conservative, a member of the upper class, and travellers being members of the lower class, he said, "I hadn't realised that anybody that appeared to be supporting elements that stood against the establishment would be savaged by the establishment newspapers. Now one thinks about it, nothing could be more natural. I hadn't realised that I would be considered a class traitor. If I see a policeman repeatedly truncheoning a very pregnant woman over the head from behind, as I did, I do feel that I'm entitled to say, that's a terrible thing you're doing, officer. I went along, saw a dreadful episode in British police history, and simply reported what I saw." Now, at the time, he had a very young child. But, and what I think is highly commendable and unrecognised by many travellers and people who go to festivals, even many pagans, is that for the subsequent years he has had to fight the secret services. Now, this is only my view, but looking at what happened, they don't like it if you speak against the establishment. Look into people who've spoken against the establishment and the established order and see what happens to them, right? Their lives get systematically destroyed, or destroyed in one go, if that can happen. So basically, he owns Savernake Forest, but various estate trustees and people looking after the land have fucked him over somehow. And I think, really? I don't know, something stinks here. I can smell fish. I don't think it's an accident. You know, he went into Parliament and was basically ridiculed. He spoke for truth and honesty. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a man of integrity. I don't care what political party he supports. If you're a man of integrity, you're a man of integrity, full stop. that crosses boundaries. No one can take that away from you. That's a spiritual way to be. Highly spiritual. Without worshipping at altars. So he has, from having like a mansion worth millions of pounds, which he was forced to sell, okay, and then train as a lorry driver. Yep, train as a lorry driver. I'm not so sure that he's done it now, but he's ended up getting into a number of pickles. Which, I don't know, I just feel that is old. That tree there, that looks like an ash tree that is getting on for 1,000 years old. It may even be older. That is probably one of the oldest, that is probably the oldest ash tree I've ever seen. Now, his land has been somehow, I'm not sure of the details of this, and I can't prove a lot of what I think. I just know, my stomach tells me, my instincts tell me that there's something fishy here, and my instincts never lie, ever. I think what happened was he went against the establishment. They said, how dare you, we're gonna fuck you over and destroy you. But they have to be careful because he's an earl. His father, sorry, his great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather led the charge of the Light Brigade. So in Parliament they implied that he was as mad as his great-great-grandfather. Apologies if it is just great-grandfather, or there's an extra great on top of there. You know, that's how they don't use facts, they just invent some lies. They make out you're an idiot, they make out you're a loony. They defame you in some other way, or push you until you react. Now I thought I have to respect him because he's still standing up for what he saw. You can't, it doesn't matter who it is, you can't do things like that. So he spent the last 40 years, is it 40? Yeah, well, 39 years, nearly 40, having his life systematically destroyed. I mean, yeah, sure, you know, you could say, well, alright, you know, massive house shouldn't have massive houses like that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but who's benefiting from it now? You know, this is a man who cares about this woodland, like really cares. There are things going on with the people who are supposedly in charge of it, looking after it, and we all know who they are. You know, everybody I know who has anything to do with them, the way they plant, the way they look after stuff, you know, no one I know, and these are also people, upper class posh people, millionaires, and they don't have a good word to say about the people that look after various forests in the UK. Oh dear. Oh, I have reason to believe this is a Roman road. Well, in fact, it is a Roman road. It's going in a slightly different way, but I think it does end up over at Canetio, where we started. So it is thanks to him that people were let off. Now, the charges brought against the police, oh, I can't remember now how this goes, but I remember they went to court after 25 years. Well, this has got to be the footpath down here. And we're heading down towards the road. This white thing's a bit weird. Not quite sure what that's about. I don't know what they mean. Does anyone? A white gate in the middle of nowhere. Let's pop and see this beech tree. Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a car park for people, because we've been coming to this wood, I've been coming to this wood for over 50 years. Probably 55 years. And what they're trying to do is put a car park at the far end, which is the place I never go, or hardly ever go, and make people walk designated tracks. They're also, as well as doing that, what they're doing is they are fencing it off. So whereas one time you could just roam freely through if you wanted to, now they're fencing off areas and making you walk specific ways. So very often there would be a fence just here. So in order to see this tree, you'd have to climb over a fence, thus ruining the human-tree interaction. I mean, look, that's so old, some of these. And I believe it's deliberate. They're also, while I'm off on this, they're also trying to say that cattle can be in the wood. Well, because aurochs used to be in the woods. And I say, yes they did, but we had a land of woods and they could roam freely. These ones are contained within an area. They're going to destroy it. They're going to destroy it. That's what's going to happen. So if you live near ancient forest, looked after by a certain forestry organisation, do your research, watch what they're doing. Because if you put in cows, they'll destroy, and pigs even, anything contained. Woods, yeah, you can have free roaming things if they've got free roam over the whole land. But if they're just in an area, they'll dig it up, they'll get rid of all the anemones, they'll eat everything that's edible, they'll stop stuff from growing, and ancient woodland will disappear and the trees will die. And I'm not joking. I'm not even making it up or being extreme or anything. It's a fact. That's what will happen. People don't understand energy in woods. And people who are in it for money, without knowing a particular wood, they're even more likely to destroy it. So he's trying to fight and stop them from doing it, and I'm on his side. So I'm going to have to do something to try and find him, because I can't sit around while they destroy more and more woodlands, ancient woodlands. You know, they do, and this is truth, they do and have done. They've clear felled an ancient woodland and replanted it with a monocrop. Oh, you can't make this shit up. And yet people think that tree and woodland organisations are brilliant. So one of the bottom lines of what I'm saying here is, some people have integrity and some people don't. And I know who I trust. I know who I'd rather have on my side. I know who I'd rather have dealing with things that I'm not doing, that I can't do anything about. People with integrity is what you want, is who you want speaking for you. Well, this is a nice load of old trees, look. Can you feel them? Well, before I go, I'd just like to say that exact numbers of arrests, vehicles, court cases and everything is really hard to ascertain, possibly due to the unlawful nature of the authorities' actions. But I can't confirm nor deny that. And if you want to find out more, I'll leave some links below and you can look into it yourself if you want to. Beware, some footage is horrific, and the fact that it's there on the internet is due to some friends of mine who, because they didn't look like me, they were able to gain entry into various archives and steal the footage, make a documentary and hide the footage. And no amount of torturing of me would make me be able to tell you where it's all stored, because I've no idea. They didn't tell me. I said to them, don't tell me where you've hidden it, and they said no. Okay, we won't. So that's done. So the irony being, of course, that when these two first moved to Devizes, or near Devizes, they used to come down to the pub. That's how I got to know one of them. And people used to think they were drug squad. So, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. Check out the links below. If you want to donate, it's probably easier to go on via Patreon, because then I will get the money and you'll be able to do it. And join me next time. Ta-da. Well, I really don't know where I'm going. Aha, I see. Well, that's the road, so I know where I'm going. And this You guessed it. It's a Roman road. Not sure where it's heading for.